Uh, I was just thinking about how things have changed when it comes to the male to female dynamic, probably within the last 10 to 12 years. Even though the modern era covers the last 45 to 50 years, things have really divided in the last 12, roughly, somewhere in that range. I remember working in radio in the early 2000s, and I remember women being open to being approached. Yeah, I miss that actually. I miss that time when women used their real power. It's this feminine thing. You're feminine. The idea of you see a man, a secure man. Forget about the insecure men. Let's put we're casting all of that out. The Pookies, the Ray Rays, as they call it. We'll throw all that out in the garbage. Cast that out. I'm talking about the secure men who know how to articulate themselves, the ones who know what they want and are not afraid to express it, the ones who walk with their chest out, they have a certain posture. There was a time when women knew how to lure that in. There's a lot of women who are not being approached today, and it makes sense when you think about the social climate that exists, which didn't exist all the time. You know, you go back before 2010, didn't have these problems, didn't have these issues. Maybe they were there, but not the way that they are today. Going back to the early 2000s and the 90s, I mean, I'm 45, so of course I had that to draw from. And the idea of eye contact and a smile, that was always my rule. If a woman would give repetitive eye contact and a smile, then I would approach. Very rarely would I approach a woman without that happening. It happened very few. I can count on one hand how many times I would approach a woman without getting of that stuff. See, I relied on the signals, the mating call, the pheromones, the vibration, the energy, the thing that these devices have taken away from us because we have our heads down. So we're not giving off the vibrations to other people, especially women. Now, you would get the eye contact, you would get that smile, and you'd walk over and approach that woman. That woman is letting you know, hey, it's okay to come talk to me. I want you to do that, especially if they're repetitive with it. There's some women that would do it just for being friendly. So you have to recognize what's really going on here, you know. But once upon a time, we had these connections. And when you see it happen 3, 4, 5 times within 15 minutes, as a man, you would know. And as a secure man, you would go over and engage and see what happens. Whether it's a long-term situation or a short-term situation, you would initiate, right? And you didn't fear rejection. As a secure man, you're not afraid of it. That's why I'm speaking to you, secure men and ladies who know how to get them. It's the beauty of human connection. I find that fascinating. And I miss seeing that because I used to see this at stores, school, any public space. You would see these connections happen. I wasn't, I used to work in radio and I was the guy that would hook other people up because I find fascination in that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't necessarily worry about me because I knew that it would be my turn eventually. And the important thing for me is to make sure that I'm on my stem. And then when the opportunity presents itself, I'll go ahead on and indulge. But I found beauty in the art of two people connecting, and so the energy exchange happens and boom. So here we go. There was that video that went viral. I think it was in 2009 where the cat call video. Do you guys remember this? Was it 2009 when that happened? I don't know. Put it in the comments. I'm not sure. And I think it was on YouTube when that happened. In 2009, the cat call thing. Now, I'm not one to do cat calls. I didn't do that. I didn't do, hey, baby, come over here, that fat ass. That's not me. That was never me. I'm more private with my dealings. Okay. I'm more like a vampire, but that's a whole nother discussion. Anyway, positive one, not negative one. So the catcalling thing killed it all across the board because now whether the man has good intent or not, women are closed, right? So that was step one. Then in comes Instagram 2010. Now I'm not bashing Instagram, but as it began to rise, here you go. No need for cold approaches when this is in your hand, right? And right about what, 2012, 2013, that really started to elevate, right? DMs, likes, right? But it's not the same. It's not the same. I'll get to that in a second. So then what else? Oh, dating apps. Swipe this way, swipe that way. You see what I mean? It totally kills the ability to connect in person. You see? Then what else? 2017, hashtag me too. There you go. What else? Cancel culture, toxic masculinity. Everything that the man does is wrong. Everything that the man does is toxic. Everything that the man does comes from ill intent. So what does that do? It makes men say, I'm not going to approach women anymore. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to do it. These men are good, secure men who don't want to be involved. They don't want to deal with it, right? So now there needs to be a return. You ladies are going to have to pull upon those old recipes now in order to get the men to approach. Yeah, you're going to have to go back to what your grandparents did. You're going to have to bring that back because they knew how to do it. Yeah, your grandparents knew how to do that. They knew how to filter the junk from the useful materials. They knew how to sense the dangers because they had a keen way of observing things. Okay, not all situations were bad. I think we're living in a time where people are trying to broad stroke things as everything was bad before. That's not true. There were situations that did work. Now, some of you understand this and some of you use it. Props to you. But there's a lot of you that are not using that muscle. You haven't been using that muscle. You're 22, 23, 24, 25, maybe you're 30, 33, I don't know. And you haven't used that muscle because you've been so closed off. You've been so closed off. You closed yourself off, all right? And now you have to rely on this thing that you haven't been using, this ability to lure, this ability to do this with your eyes, the ability to filter the insecures from the secures, because you got to filter. You got to filter the secure man from the insecure man because there is a difference. The secure man, you'll reject him, he'll walk off, and that'll be done. The insecure one will have a problem with rejection and probably respond like a woman. Pookies and Ray Rays, as they call them. You got to know the difference. You got to filter. Women knew how to do this. Some women from the past still had to deal with those struggles, but a lot of women from the past knew how to navigate through these situations, and they would draw in the experience that they wish to have. So now you're going to have to rely on that. You're going to have to turn the volume up even more now because so many men just don't want to deal with the madness. They're nervous about it. They're like, you know what? I don't want to put myself in a bad situation because I don't know what the intent of this woman is. So it totally kills the ball game. So it kind of kills it for you women who actually do want to be approached, because some of you do. Some of you still want to be approached. You want that man. You want that energy. You want that, don't you? See, and the social climate that we're in right now has sort of killed it for you. So now you're going to have to crank that volume even higher. You're going to have to crank that volume higher than your grandparents, man, because this and everything else involved with this has killed it. It's killed it. Or maybe not killed it, but it has shifted it into a counterproductive direction. So here we go. We're now in a new decade, because easily you could say from 2010 to 2021, the male to female connection has been split. So now moving into the 2020s, we're going to have to get that old stuff back. Some of those old recipes are definitely going to have to be brought back if men and women specifically are going to reconnect. Now, is there intentions going on? Is there an agenda to keep the man and the woman split and divided? Maybe, I don't know. I'll let you discuss that. What do you think? I don't know. But I will say this. If there's any sort of connection going to happen, those old recipes, those vibrations, that eye contact, those smiles, that stuff that I remember that stuff. That's going to have to come back. Oh, yeah. And then the results will play itself out. Direct communication, knowing what you want, and moving forward.